Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the fastest 20 minutes in sports presented by Betting by the Numbers. I'm Connor Stewart, and I'm here to give you a quick rundown on the sports world from someone with at least a little bit of knowledge in a lot of sports around the world. We're going to be jumping today between college basketball, college football, a little bit, NHL. Then we're going to head on over to the pitch for soccer. We're going to look at Formula One, rugby, WWE, and actually finish up with our best bets for today. Last episode on Tuesday, we went 1-1 with our best bets. We had a great performance out of Creighton, and unfortunately, Texas Tech gets the win, but is not able to get the cover. So we fall 1-1. I was able to get Texas Tech live to be able to get back some of that money, but not a big day. We're going to be looking for 2 picks tonight, but first, we have a lot of stories to get through. This podcast goal is to give you a quick update on the sports world, little tidbits of knowledge that maybe aren't covered as in depth in other stories or other podcasts or other videos. So we're just trying to find a bunch of different things to throw at you in 20 minutes so you can get a bunch of knowledge and be able to take that going forward, as well as some good picks. So let's head on over to the hard court in basketball. As we mentioned in our best bets, we had number 1 UConn take on Creighton on Tuesday, and it was an insane game. Had a NCAA tournament feel to it, just 2 teams that you could tell are going to make long runs in this tournament. However, Creighton really comes out on top and looked good the whole game. UConn had spurts, but honestly, I never really felt worried about the Creighton bet. They just really dominated at home and were able to keep that momentum on their side, the same way UConn did in the reverse game a couple months ago. So kind of what I was predicting with Creighton being able to get that home field advantage. They're not going to have that in the NCAA tournament, which concerns me about them long term. However, UConn, they have a lot of good games to prove themselves. They're the number 1 team in the country still. Even if they bounce down to 2 or 3, I still think that they can beat anybody. However, there are a couple teams that I'm looking at, and I am not feeling great about their potential of going deep into the tournament. Purdue, Tennessee, Iowa State, top 15 teams, top 10 teams to some people, top 5 teams to some people. I just don't love their offenses enough to think that they can make deep, consistent runs into the NCAA tournament. And I don't think their defenses are good enough to be able to say, you know what, the offenses don't matter. We're going to be able to be fine. There is one team like that, and I actually just placed a future bet plus 850 slip on Houston to win the national championship. Really, this is just a value bet right now. Odds are pretty split across the board in terms of there's no one really below plus 700, and everyone else is somewhere in the plus thousands, plus 1200. So I think this is a good time to lock this in because I think Houston is going to continue to show as we get deeper into conference play, we get deeper into the conference tournaments, that this defense is just too good for most people. I mean, it's really a race to 60 when you're playing. And I just think that Houston's going to be in every game because of that. And it's just whether or not can they get to the free throw line and execute? Can they score those easy baskets down low? And then maybe make a couple threes to just get the confidence going. But defense is the name of the game for this team. And I have done it for years. They haven't been able to lock up that national championship, but year in, year out, Final Four contenders just because of how good that defense is. So a lot of things to look forward to in the college basketball world. We're going to be going into some deep dives of these conferences as we get into their tournament season. So we'll have more there. And if you have any questions about college basketball, about kind of what these next couple of weeks looks like, or anything that you want any more knowledge on, please tell me, and I'm happy to go through it. So let's turn now to college football quickly. Not a huge story, but EA Sports does announce that their new video game, EA Sports College Football 25, is going to be coming out. And one interesting tidbit I found is that the players will now be opting in or out of being included in the game. If they opt out, they just get a generic player avatar with their name not included. But if they opt in, they get $600 payment, an additional copy of the game. While that's not a lot, there will be plenty of players who are big names who will get NIL deals to have a partnership with EA Sports to help promote the game, whatever it is. So the limits on how much they can make is not capped at any amount. It's just this is what you get paid for just saying, yeah, I'll be in the game, and then everything else is what you can do with it. So I think this is really cool. Obviously, it's a stepping stone for getting college players, especially college basketball and football players who bring in, what is it, like 90 something percent of the revenue for college sports. Getting them back into video games and finding ways for the students to make money while still being able to concentrate on their sports is a great. I think it's a great result for everyone. So fun stuff coming ahead. I think everyone's excited about that college football game, first one in 11 years. So it'll be awesome, hopefully. NHL. We're going to head on over to the ice where Austin Matthews is the leader in the clubhouse, burying his 50th goal in only his 54th game. To put that into some context, he is now the quickest American-born person to hit 50 goals, breaking the record he set himself at 62 goals. And there are 4 active players actually still in the NHL to have multiple 50-goal campaigns. Ovechkin, Draisaitl, Steven Stamkos, and now Austin Matthews. And one insane thing, he has scored a quarter of Toronto's goals this season. So props to Mr. Matthews. He's unbelievable right now. And yeah, it's Toronto. They look good every year at this point. The question is, can they continue to look good into June, July? We'll see. I'm not a huge in and out of hockey. I definitely start paying attention as we get closer to the NHL, or rather the NHL playoffs. But one thing to note is the trade deadline is coming up in the NHL on March 8th. We've had a couple smaller deals, but it looks like there's a possibility that we could have some big names moving. I saw the Blues have a couple players. The Flames have a couple players. Even Jake Guentzel from the Penguins is kind of on watch for possible trades. Hockey is a lot more close vest than maybe baseball or football. There's not as many agents or people talking in the press about updates to try to. Hockey's just a lot more closed tie and business suits. Let's get this done and keep moving. So I think that you'll hear them when they happen, but nothing right now that is huge to be concerned about in terms of the trade deadline. Just know that it's coming up. And there will be new news. So let's head on over to soccer. We're going to start the MLS. As we talked about on Tuesday, the season's starting. Still no update on the referees. Went okay last night in the first game with Messi and Inter Miami beating Real Salt Lake 2-0. Messi and his partner Luis Suarez both assisted in the games. The Miami looked good. As I said, you're going to try to have the good teams get off to much better starts this season, especially Inter Miami, who, when Messi joined the team, was last in the league. They're going to hope to really put themselves in a good position going forward. We have a big schedule this weekend, opening weekend, and they kind of did a good job of spreading out the games throughout. However, some noticeable matchups. We have LAFC and Seattle. That's always a big game, those Western Conference games. It looks like Real Salt Lake's going to have to go back on, the road to St. Louis and play again Saturday. That's a quick turnaround. And then we have Sporting Kansas City, Houston Dynamo, Nashville, New York Red Bulls. And to cap it all off on Sunday evening, we have a great game. LA Galaxy opens their season against Inter Miami, who will be going on the road after picking up the early win. So they take Inter Miami, Real Salt Lake, throw them back out there for the weekend. Big slate of games and should be an exciting start. Over on the Champions League, we had our first full match day complete. As we talked about, there were already 4 games finished going into Tuesday. After that, we got some interesting results. Inter Milan picked up a big win against Atletico Madrid, 1-0. Porto beat Arsenal 1-0. And Napoli and Barcelona both looked a little lost. 1-1 draw between the teams. And honestly, I don't think coming away from that, either of those teams feel quite inspired. I like Barcelona to probably get out of that fixture, but, it's just both teams do not look like the Napolis and Barcelonas that we've seen in the past. In terms of who we like going forward, Man City, Real Madrid, PSG all look strong. Looks like Arsenal Porto is probably going to be the most interesting second leg just because of an English team playing another large team in the world and kind of the drama that's involved in that. So a lot of 1-1s, a lot of 1-0s. I said that it's usually pretty cagey in that first game. So things will open up in the second game. If someone gets an early goal, it always does. We're going to head on over now to the Premier League where we have a big weekend in store. We have Really, the highlight of the weekend is Arsenal Newcastle on Saturday. West Ham Brentford should be not very fun on Monday. City plays Bournemouth, Brighton and Everton, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace, Burnley. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal Newcastle definitely the highlight of that crew, but a lot of relegation battle games in there too. A lot of teams that need results, and when you start to get desperate at the end of the season, you can have good games kind of pop up that you may not expect. So be watching out, but not the biggest weekend for EPL. So maybe a good weekend to check out MLS or some of the other leagues. Let's head over to the cars. We had testing going down in Formula One. What that means is the teams are given designated opportunities to get their cars on the track and really race them however they want. We saw many different strategies. We saw some cars running a lot of laps. We saw some cars running very few laps, including Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton not racing any. But we saw Max Verstappen look really, really fast. He had a second lead on everyone else. Now, don't read into this too much. Teams might not be going out there with the intent of setting the fastest time. They might be going out there to check durability or check other technology issues. So this is not like qualifying. This is not like a race where all the teams are going out there with the goal of just being the fastest. They're more interested in achieving the research goals that they have in this testing. So this is just kind of some data points to look at, but nothing to read into intently. I think you'll see the teams who are good keep rising to the top. I think Red Bull looks fast and is only going to get faster. So it's just whether or not anyone can catch up. But right now, super interesting to just see the cars back on the track and to see the different looks of the teams. So exciting year. I think this has potential of a good Formula One season, but we're going to need someone to step up and really, really try to challenge Red Bull to make any of these races competitive. So let's head on over to rugby. Real quickly, we talked about this in the last episode with the Six Nations approaching this weekend, but we wanted to just quickly touch on the importance of the Scotland and England game. This is a rivalry going back basically from the beginning of the sport, and obviously with the two countries going back many, many years. So this is a rivalry as deep as it gets in rugby. And if you have the opportunity to watch a game of the Six Nations, this would be the one. They've all been showing on Peacock, I believe, pretty easily accessible. But Scotland, England is just, both teams are starting to get healthy. Both teams had a 2-week break between this. So rugby is a physical sport. These guys beat up on each other pretty relentlessly week in and week out during this Six Nations. So having that couple weeks break gets them healthy, and I just really feel like this is going to be an awesome game. I like England to get it done, but it doesn't mean that they will. I definitely don't really bet much on rugby just because of how unpredictable the games can be sometimes. There's some value, but it's kind of a quick PSA more than anything, but this Scotland and Wales game should be kick-ass. So be sure to tune in if you have the chance. With football not on, you have your Saturday mornings back a little bit. So you should turn there. Heading over to WWE, we have an update on a new character, I guess an old character, back into the fray. The Rock is back. He's been back a couple weeks, but there was really a firm position kind of taken by The Rock, and where his role is going to be going up into WrestleMania. For those of you that don't follow WWE as much, they've had really a great record the last couple years and starting to get back to maybe what people who really were engaged in it in the early 2000s, 2010s, starting to really get some of those wrestlers back, the storylines back that people are a little more in tune on, and try to put a good face for WWE. And The Rock coming back is a huge deal. He's an international superstar, and he's been great. It's not been like, oh, it's Rock the actor who's coming back to cut a promo for his new movie. This is The Rock going to WrestleMania with the intention of, winning a championship. And I just think it's an awesome storyline. So to catch people up, The Rock is now in kind of a 3-way conversation of who is going to be competing for the WWE Championship at WrestleMania. And it's a conversation of who should be facing Roman Reigns for the undisputed Universal Championship at WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania 40. It's primed to be a huge 2-day affair. WrestleManias have only been getting bigger as years go on. And a couple weeks ago, Cody Rhodes announced who he would be challenging at WrestleMania. And The Rock was furious that he didn't get chosen and that it was going to be Roman Reigns. Rock came out on Monday and basically went full heel. He showed up in this gold fancy shirt. He took shots at Cody Rhodes. He took shots at the crowd, basically everyone else. And he said Cody Rhodes should be the one to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship at WrestleMania. However, The Rock wrestling in WrestleMania is going to happen. Whether it's night one, they're going to throw out a couple of them in a tag team match. Kind of what it would be is The Rock and Roman Reigns, who are part of the Bloodline now, would be in I guess, some sort of tag team match against Roman Reigns, or rather against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins. That's where it would be looking, but nothing set in stone yet. I mean, obviously a lot to go, and WrestleMania is a couple months away, but just something super interesting. If you're not super involved in wrestling, this would be a good time to watch just because The Rock is incredible at what he does. He's one of the best wrestlers ever. He's one of the best promo men ever. So I think this will be really cool. It's just something to talk about so people can tune in, but it's a big deal. And I think it should be an interesting, and a lot of that is now easily accessible. WWE pay-per-views used to cost so much money, and now you can really access all this pretty easily. So let's head on over to the best bets. We got two of them today. We got one in basketball, one in hockey, actually. Just two really good spots for teams that are looking to have strong performances. So first, we're going to start off with Florida Atlantic -6 or 6.5. I got it -6 at DraftKings, but the line's been kind of floating between the two versus SMU. Florida Atlantic just lost a game that they probably shouldn't have. However, they are still one of the best teams, I think, in the country. They have 13th best offense. Their defense isn't horrible, and they do really shooting from threes and twos very, very well. They're playing an SMU team that comes in with the nation's 8th longest active win streak at 6 games. And the one thing that SMU hasn't been able to do as well this season is win on the road. That's where they've lost really most of their games they have lost. They're 19-7, and I think 5 of their losses are on the road or neutral. So I just think that this is a spot where Florida Atlantic needs to get back after losing to South Florida in a tight one. I think that they're at home, and they're going to really just try to get a big win against an SMU team that won't come in and lay down. I just think that, they've won a lot. And if there's one thing in college basketball this year, it's that win streaks don't last. Just a lot of good teams being beaten. Once you start to think you figured out a team that they're really good, that they can't be beaten, they lose the next week in devastating fashion. So I like Florida Atlantic to cover there, get the win. And I think the odds are showing that this should be closer to maybe a 2 or 3 point game. But with the home field advantage and kind of that momentum shift, I like Florida Atlantic there. So second ticket we have are the Florida Panthers money line +102 versus Carolina. The line opened at Carolina -200 favorites, and they are now -120 to -110 at most books. I'm taking the opposite side for a couple of reasons. First, Florida has looked great against Carolina in the past, beating them in 8 of 10 matchups. Additionally, I think Florida's just metrics are coming out better than Carolina's, and the odds are showing it, right? Everyone else is starting to move, and I think that +102, you're getting great odds on a slight underdog at plus money. I know it's on the road, but I just think that money's not moving for no reason, right? People who know a lot more than me are liking it, and I just think the storyline also matches up for it. When I'm handicapping, I'm looking for numbers going to one side, I'm looking for stories going to another side, and I'm going to take that. So 2 picks, Panthers money line +102 and Florida Atlantic -6 or 6.5, depending where you get it. That's the fastest 20 minutes in sports. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like, subscribe, leave any comments, questions, thoughts, whatever you want. And we will be back next Tuesday with another episode. Unless one comes out Saturday. Guess we'll have to see. Thank you, guys.